Many of you have been with me for 9 years, 9 to 10 years. It was 8 years ago that on this channel I broke out into the public and began telling everybody about my experiences with a girl I remembered interacting with back in the early 1990s that had been brought to me by the military. A girl that identified herself to me by the name of Beniico. And she said that wasn't her name, but it was what I'll call her, because they didn't use names. She went on to tell me, laid this claim to me that she was in fact an alien human hybrid, a result of the alien human abduction program that alleges to exist, that women and men are abducted by aliens, women's eggs are taken, and according to all the UFO world, this is how it goes down. These eggs are then impregnated with the DNA of an alien species that's now visiting this planet secretly, quietly, so as not to interfere with human history, human development. The consequence was there was, a human hybrid alien race that rose up, a whole civilization of them. And they have a language, then it's telepathy. They can speak our languages on this planet. When they've identified themselves to us, they come to people like Daralenka and identify themselves as Bashar. This one identified herself to me as Beniico. There was others have come forward to other people and have gone public about it and talked about their experiences with them. Certain artists, without dropping names here, have gone out and painted them. So, it became, the need to go public was because it was a case of we're playing lawyers for a civilization that has no voice in this world. We're the advocates for those who have no voice. They're real, they exist. And our stories, our accounts, our dealings with them is a way of saying they're not a harm to you, they're not going to hurt you, they're no threat to you. At this point, it was like, when we connected in 1992, she contacted me by telephone, and I thought it was a prank call at first. And then she identified every detail of my diaries, the contents of my room. You looked at my YouTube channel, it's under the name Beniico, Beniico, 1992. In the early days of my YouTube channel, YouTube in 2012, they were like restricting 15-minute clips at a time. And then it was like when I was allowed to do up to hour, 2-hour long clips, and I did them. I've done hundreds of hours of, all kinds of stuff. But the focus of the channel has been on this sweet, loving girl, which has meant a lot to me. The debate ranged for years with suspected intelligence agents on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter that stalked me and began Skyping me privately. They didn't go public and say, we're talking to Jason Moss. They would do it all very, very clandestine, very off camera. It was like, we don't admit that. There was no public admittance that there was any contact going on between myself and these people, so I'm not bearing up any names in this video. And they turned it into a debate. They turned it into a confrontation. Gaslighting is, if you look up the word gaslighting, it's a phrase in psychology. And it just became a contention. Are you, what is Beniico to you? Is she just a memory? And the thing is, these suspected agents never said to me she doesn't exist, Jason. They know well that they exist. So that never came up in discussion. What they would say to me was, she's nothing but a memory to you. And there was a lot of anger about this. Very confrontational people who were wearing secret uniforms behind camera. serving a nation's interest, national security interest. And all of this really was shut him up. And even on my YouTube channel, there have been so many issues. My channel being hidden. I've had people attack me on different groups on Facebook. Always the same thing. They'll claim to know a lot about it, and they sit behind phony profiles with no real accountability. There's no pictures, no real name. Again, this is NSA, CIA, it's all of them. And they're extremely, very, very reproachful, very, angry. Because the technology that this civilization has, the Sasani have, is far in advance of anything the United States has or any nation on Earth. And if you have it, you could pretty much conquer the planet. You could have whatever you want. It's hell's bells wishing well. It's all bets off. And when you got those kind of high stakes at play, well, we don't want people like Jason talking, even though it's not like he came forward with all the evidence. The fact he's talking at all irritates and pisses him off. But I don't want to go down that road. It's a dark road, and I'm going to get out of that for a minute because it's just too much to. I don't want to go down that road. It's a waste of time and energy to talk about that. It's been a beautiful experience in remembering, and she's not just a memory. To answer that question, this is not just a memory. What I found in the last 10 years, when the memories of her resurfaced, there's a current ongoing contact with this girl. And I define that as everything involving physical contact to verbal contact, visual contact. The problem is, while I'm able to share those extraordinary insectoid, mantid, alien mantid photographs you've seen maybe on my YouTube channel, if you go down the it's under the title infrared, under the title mantis, under the title mantids. You go into my group, the Seventh Dimension group on Facebook. There's a lot of pictures there. I've even got a little book out, kind of, I'm not going to plug the book, but it's just anything to get the pictures out there. They've never been debunked. These are genuine photos. There was never an issue with sharing any of that from these entities. They never said to me, I never got any impression from them at all. They never really said anything. The mantid creatures are quite enigmatic. And they never said anything. This is here in Britain. I went to the forest under some advice I was given from a source through a PSB-7 box that we're in the forest. I went to the forest to a location where I was told what the location would be. I got there. Sure enough, I'd start taking pictures with my infrared camera, digital color, all the rest, videos. Got back to my house and whoops, it floored me. Were there little alien hybrid human girls and boys standing about? No. Excuse me, alien hybrid people. I'm being silly there. No, there were mantis creatures looking back at me. When the contact with Beniico became more lucrative over the years, this happened in another forest in a location. I began to get recordings. First thing she said to me was, and she's speaking fluent English, and she's very much like a human person in every way characteristic. You'd think you were talking to a ghost or a poltergeist, but they only give up little bits of information at a time. She was actually giving me full-length sentences and conversations that went on and on and on and on, and she says, don't share this to anybody. This is between you and me. So it was like a dire warning. So I've just kept it quiet. And I talk about it like this, but then, well, somebody could say, oh, you're making that up. Yeah, and if I am, why did I share such extraordinary pictures that couldn't be debunked of mantis creatures, which earned me a namesake in the media? So okay, there it is. Don't take my word for it, but that's where we are with this. Now, the Pentagon is said to be going to be releasing retrieved UFO or alien hardware. This is now in the public. It's coming out. And this is just kind of a heads up video. It's been a long road for me, guys. It's been a long, hard 10 years. I've taken a lot of abuse and beating, batteries. I mean, without naming names of anybody recent or long term, But yeah, I have had a fallout with, it could be people I work with, it could be people, and I'm not naming names, I'm not doing that. Years and years back, when I was at the job center, this is going back a long, long time ago, they told me, hide your Facebook page, hide your YouTube channel, get rid of all that. Um, and because they were like, well, this look, England's a great country, but there's a lot of people who are very closet Christian, very deeply devout Mormon, Jehovah's Witness. They don't come out. I mean, in America, everybody blasted everywhere with little crucifixes hanging off their rear view mirrors in their cars. They've got tattoos of Jesus cross on their arms. They're quite endearingly, quietly quiet about it over here. But boy almighty Lord, they think this is paganism or something. They think it's weird, crazy, schizophrenia, batty. I'm like, you don't know me. You don't know the evidence I've already brought to the public or the books I've written. You don't know what I've already done. I don't really have anything else to say. Like I said, it's been a hard 10 years, but her story is important to get it out there. She was hurt by people that looked like military, and I couldn't keep quiet about that. For moral reasons, you become an accessory to the crime if you stay silent. That's morality. So you have to talk, even if she didn't seem to have any. United Nations didn't know about her or cover her under some human rights law. Okay? She would fall under the UN. No nation on earth would take these beings and say, you're us. Most likely the United Nations, if they knew about them and could talk to them, they would be under the UN protection. In other words, the UN would have shown up and probably kicked the shit out of the Air Force intelligence. And these are the guys that are highly trained commandos themselves. And they would have shown up that night, picked her up, and pretty much put a stop to that nonsense right there and then. So the UN has yet to know about them. And at some point will know about them. It's the only way to go forward. They know about our world. They know how it works. They know all the different intricacies. The only thing I could think is, I'll end the video on this thought, it's going to be the UN. I don't know what the motive is for the American government to be bringing forward this evidence to the public. I don't know what that is. I don't know. It could be that later in this decade there's going to be contact. They're going to be making themselves known. Whether or not the Zeta or the Greys that created them had that in mind is debatable. Did they think in advance of this? I don't think they really knew that was going to happen. I think it's kind of a case of free will. Okay, so if they're intelligent and responsible enough to figure this is the time to do it in the next 10 years, good for it. Go for it, guys. Okay. Good. You'll put me out of a job and other people. The well-known and lesser-known, watch out, because you're all going to be pretty much ordinary folk, and no one's going to want to, you're no longer anything. Well, that's my video. I'll do another video later. Thank you.